So, I got my stimulus check today. Frustrating to know that it's pretty much all going to be going into paying rent. In fact, my rent here is about $1,100 a month for a crappy studio that leaks, has old appliances, a small fridge, well, medium smallish. But hey, it's on the beach. Apparently that's why it should be so expensive. And like I said before I think I said in my previous video, I don't know, but I have zero interest in living on the beach. I used to. Maybe about 5-10 years ago, the beach was a place to go where you can find, I'll say exotic, but I mean exotic as in foreign European women. I've already spoken about my affinity for European women. And people were generally nicer on Miami Beach than they were other parts of Miami, at least in my experience. But now, it all seems bad. Everybody's rude, inconsiderate. So, really not worth the $1,100. But what I think is messed up is I got the stimulus check today, and the bill that was passed for the stimulus check was passed in, I think, late March. That was when I did my first attempt at Florida's unemployment application. I filled that out. Took me about 8 hours that night. A significant amount of frustration. The website will crash on me halfway through filling out the application, and then just continuously messing up. So I think it's very telling that I was able to get, you know what, I guess I can get this off. Oh, nope, the wind noise is too crazy. It's very telling that I was able to get the stimulus check in that time, which is almost a month, but I haven't gotten or heard anything from Florida's unemployment. And then I heard that Florida had created a unemployment mobile site. So if you go to the link, and I probably should provide that on this video for anyone who happens to run across my videos. If you do the mobile site, by mobile site I mean you can pull up the link on your cell phone and fill out the application there. But even when I completed the mobile site, I received nothing like an email confirmation or a text confirmation or anything of that sort. It's just so lazily put together. So great, the stimulus check came in, and if it wasn't for that stimulus check, if it wasn't for that federal intervention, I'll be screwed. I'll be screwed. It's just freaking sad. Another topic I just wanted to talk on briefly, hopefully, because I can rant about this for a long time, is how frustrating it must be for those of us who have no income or have recently been laid off because we worked in a field that is not considered essential, and or when all this subsides and the lockdown ends, that particular career is never going to be the same again. So it's just frustrating that you could be doing something for 10, 15, 20 years, and if this is before 2008, that means that particular business managed to survive even the 2008 housing crisis. But this, no. But there are plenty of people out there who are working a career that they're getting paid still, and they're getting paid good money, and they're going to get to take advantage of this stimulus check. And I can't help but envy them, because there's one thing that frustrates me is when times like this happens, when everyone else is suffering, when a stock market crashes, you know who really benefits from this suffering and from all this bad stuff? Rich people. And I was thinking about this a few weeks ago, and I thought, you know what? Even though I don't have a consistent source of income because of this global bug, maybe if I'm smart and I do a little research, I might be able to buy a few stocks, make a few bucks extra, put in 50, get out 75, I don't know. So I had downloaded the Robinhood app, and you get a free stock when you log in or when you set up your Robinhood account. And supposedly you can get a stock with Ford or Apple, but that's a pretty significant difference in value of stock. Ford being, I think, what, $6-7 now, and Apple's probably in the 200s. And I really knew nothing about stocks, and I spent hours upon hours watching YouTube videos on small stocks, how to trade, when to trade, what are options, what are dividends, how to make sense of the data that they show you. And I would say if an expert knows 100% of all kinds of stocks, trading and data and all that stuff, maybe I'll be on that 10% mark, because it's still a great deal I don't understand. So when you download Robinhood and you link up your Robinhood account with your bank, this is what happened with me. I linked up my Robinhood account, linked it to my bank. That seemed very seamless. And then when I started buying some stocks that I thought were gonna go up, and they actually did. I put in about 50 bucks into my investment, and within a few days my 50 bucks became 75 bucks, and I had intended to buy a few more stocks that would have become over $100, maybe $120. Even though some of my stocks were going down, some of the ones I thought would go up definitely did go up. And you know, some of it's kind of obvious. So if everyone's stuck home and only a small amount of people are working, what are they going to be doing at home? And I got stock in what I can afford, because I couldn't afford Netflix. And one stock, which was just basically a mobile video game creator or distributor, and another stock was some sort of battery cells that are used by forklifts. I forget what it was called. The point is, some of my stocks went up, some went down a little bit, but it looked like a pretty good poor man's portfolio. But here's the problem. Apparently, when I linked my Robinhood account, I linked it to my savings, when I initially intended to link it to my checkings. So what's the big deal, right? Well, the thing is, I thought it was in my checkings, and a lot of my automatic transfers, automatic bills and payments are from my checkings. They have to be, because my bank is with JP Morgan Chase, and unfortunately, if you take out too many withdrawals in a certain period of time, Chase will start fining you, basically. I always found that amazing. I don't know how we as the people allow this. It's like if I go to a friend or an acquaintance or whatever, somebody, and I say, hey, listen, do me a favor, hold my $100 for me. And they say, sure, I'll hold your $100, but every month I'm gonna take a $2 or $3 out of your $100. That's me. That's exaggerating. I'm gonna take 50 cents out of your $100 every month. And you're like, why? And they go, for the privilege of holding this measly $100. However, if I said, here, hold my $10,000. Oh, sir, yeah, no problem. I'll be happy to hold on to that for you. And I won't even charge you any fees. So I don't know, maybe the intention, dude, I can't walk in this street without some vehicle driving by, cruising slowly by me and picking up all this dust. So I don't know, maybe the intention from these big banks is to dissuade you from doing business with them if you're not wealthy. I don't know. But so yeah. And here's a double-edged sword, not double-edged sword, actually, I don't know, a freaking hammer. For all the trades I was doing on Robinhood via my savings account, what ended up happening is that after a while, I wasn't, and this is my own stupid mistake for not checking my savings, but I was transferring money from my savings into my checkings to cover all these expenses, not realizing that I was using my savings to purchase these stocks. So what happens, of course, is eventually I end up being negative on my savings. Trades that were pending didn't go through. So not only was I charged a fee from Robinhood for these trades not going through, these pending trades failing, I got charged from Chase for the withdrawals, all of the withdrawals. Jesus, look, another vehicle just decides to stop. I don't know why I can't walk without some cars cruising by slowly near me. It's creepy. So all of the investment I made, all of the money I made from my stocks, all of it's gone from all of these fees. So I had to come out of pocket another $100 to put into Robinhood just to make me somewhat over even. That's how screwed up that was. It's just so frustrating. However, if I had, and Chase sent me a notice about this, if I had $15,000 in my savings, I can withdraw as much as I want from my savings without any fees or fines or whatever. Go figure. It strikes me as amazing that you ask someone to hold your money that they're going to be using. It's not like it's just sitting in the bank. Yes, they guarantee you can take that money out whenever you want. But for such a small amount, to be fined for it, to me, just seems criminal. One would think that during this crisis that they would not fine people for something like that, especially now, but that would be expecting too much. One thing I've learned over the years is that banks are never your friend. Consider them an enemy unless you need a loan. So, whereas I got dinged and burned, anyone with a decent amount of income, even a small amount of discretionary income, could have made some money from the stock market. So if somebody like me can put in 50 bucks and then within a few days end up turning that 50 bucks into almost 100 bucks, imagine somebody with $1 million. And this is before I started learning about option trading, which is kind of risky and it's almost like a gamble, but I suppose if you know how to read the data and if you are able to look up some news or some information that might give you the impression that a stock is going to go up or go down, you can basically bet on that and make more money. But I know when I had a career before this in 2008, when the financial market hit, I had an investment fund, a retirement fund that was part of my employment. And whatever money I put in, my employer would match. So I was putting in about a few $100 every month into my portfolio. But then when the 2008 housing crisis occurred, I ended up losing. I think I went from, I don't remember what I had, but I know I lost about 60% of whatever I had in the portfolio. And shortly thereafter, my employer switched to a state retirement. Unfortunately, I was only able to buy back a small amount of years that I put into working for that employer, so that I can buy my seniority or buy back those years into the retirement. So let's say it's a 20-year retirement. I've already worked 10 years. However, the department didn't have a retirement for state. It was just a 401. So I took my money that I had left after, this is a couple years after the financial crisis. So I lost a significant amount, and then I took whatever I had left and put that into buying back my seniority. And of course, this is around the time that Rick Scott decided to change the rules so that you had to work even more years. So really what I should have done, if I knew then what I know now, is I should have just done my own investing. I should have taken, I mean, of course there were no Robinhood apps back then. And I don't know if you could trade or purchase stock without having to pay a commission fee back then. But hell, if I had purchased 20 grand in stock in Amazon and Netflix, which I knew back then were going to be big, but I didn't quite understand how stocks work. Yeah, my 20 grand would be worth probably 200, almost $250,000 right now. So I guess my point is it's just frustrating. Being rich gives you so many advantages that you can, what's the term? I love this phrase. You can fail upwards. You can be an idiot, you can make a bunch of mistakes, but if your family has clout, or if you're, and this goes back to the sort of MGTOW thought pattern, if you're a female and you're very attractive, and I know some of you guys have noticed this, haven't you noticed the sort of surge in the OnlyFans and the Patreons and the give me money and I'll give you my Dropbox and whatever so you can see naked pictures of myself. I kind of wonder why guys do that, but I do think I figured it out. It's one thing to just go online and find a working girl on video doing her thing, but when you come across some girl on social media and she really catches your attention for whatever reason, and you see enough pictures of her, I guess you kind of become fixated on her. Maybe is that, I don't know, is that what happens? And you're like, you know what, I'm gonna go ahead and join this person's Patreon. Well, regardless of the reasons, the point is that most of us guys, we don't have that option. So if you're not a hot girl, if you're a guy that haven't really established a great talent, or what your talent is, because I think we all have some sort of talent, it sucks. This situation sucks. Or if you're like me and you do have a talent, I do have a few talents, but I can't really utilize them in this situation right now. And when this lockdown is over, I'm not sure I'll be able to utilize them again. So I've got a plan B and a plan C in mind. But again, these aren't assurities, so who knows how that's gonna go. But if you have a regular source of income right now, some discretionary income, man, I'm not sure what's gonna happen with the real estate market. I'm gonna guess that the price of houses are gonna go. Sorry, they're gonna go down a little bit. Let me turn here. Maybe I can walk down the construction road without any construction vehicles creeping by me and following me. So I mean, if you're wealthy, I mean, let me tell you, if I had a couple $1 million, obviously I would have put some of that in stocks right now. And yeah, there are going to be some stocks that are going to crash. That's a given. I'm going to assume that stocks that involve retail, real estate, maybe even, I don't know, maybe the storage real estate stuff will go up because people are going to be having to move out of their homes or their rentals, and they got to store their stuff somewhere. So the storage real estate might go up. Digital real estate should continue to go up. I see no reason why that would go down. But stocks that deal with mortgages and individual finances for homes, real estate homes, and again, and like I said, retail, like restaurants and hotels, they may take a hit. And you don't have to be a genius to figure that stuff out. You don't have to be a stock genius to figure that stuff out. So you can start putting, like I said earlier, I knew when this lockdown occurred that Amazon stock was going to skyrocket. Of course, most of us can't afford Amazon stock. Netflix stock's going to skyrocket. That stock that does video games for mobile platforms, they're not skyrocketing, but they're slowly going up. So, and then if you understand how dividends work, you can purchase some stocks that are going to be strong and withstand this economic crisis that we're about to go into, or we are into. And now you've got yourself a 5 to 10% interest payment on your investment every year. I didn't even know about dividends. No one has taught me about dividends. No one. It's not in school. Not when I was at work and they were talking about the investment portfolio. Nobody explained how dividends work. I knew about how compound interest works and things like that, but I thought that was only from like marketing accounts or a CD account or something like that. So I just think it's interesting how these are things that aren't really taught but to the average person. And that's why YouTube is a boon. You're gonna have to know how to filter out the garbage, but YouTube is freaking awesome. If you know how to filter out the garbage, like I said. For example, there's one YouTuber that's big on Robinhood. I forget his name. He does like card tricks and whatnot. And I've watched a bunch of his videos, but I kind of get annoyed. Like I fast forward through his intros and whatever, because I can't stand YouTube channels that have these loud, long intros. Or if they start talking and then they still show you the intro afterwards. I don't know. But he does these card tricks and whatever, and I don't want to see that. I just fast forward through that stuff. Good Lord. Sheesh, wait. I fast forward through all of that stuff. But I'm confused because I've watched a bunch of his videos and I'm like, one video he'll say that he was working a job is only earning $3 an hour. Another video he'll say he was only earning $12 an hour. And then another video he would say that he was earning $14 an hour. And then within that same video he would say that he was putting aside in his investment savings half of his income, which is like $3,000. And I'm like, hold on, how do you earn $12 an hour and still be able to put away $3,000 or $2,000, even if it's $2,500, $2,000? I mean, were you working like 60, 70-hour weeks? I don't know. So, and going to another point, like 2 years ago, a year ago, when I started doing my own personal business with some clients, I thought, you know what, let me start listening to some podcasts, like motivational podcasts, to improve myself, to better myself. And one of the podcasts I listened to was London Real. I think it was London Real or someone else, I don't know. But it's one of those motivational podcasts. And they had the guy, the author of the book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And let me tell you, I really hated listening to this podcast. I remember they were making comments like, if you're poor by choice. And if you give a poor person lots of money, chances are they're going to just blow that money away because they have this mindset about being poor. And they mentioned the example of people who win the lottery and then end up blowing through the lottery, or people who have a special talent like a singer or a rapper or whatever, or athlete, and they come into some money and then they blow that money away because they don't know how to use that money. Well, you know what? Maybe that's because no one's taught them. Maybe it's not some genetic thing, because they were kind of implying that it was, they kind of mentioned things that were borderline R word for me. Um, the word that rhymes with bassist. I'm still learning about YouTube, but I understand there's a bunch of words that if you use, you kind of get in trouble and you get anti-monetized. I don't think that really matters to me. It's not like I have enough followers to make that, for that to even matter. But he basically made comments, this author of this book, that that being poor is either a matter of choice, or it's genetics, or it's just it's built in. I mean, look, maybe he's right, but here's the thing I don't like about the guy. As it turns out, he misrepresented himself in this book. I guess he tried to make it seem like he was a poor kid, but if you listen to him in this podcast, and again, I'm listening to this podcast, I'm thinking, okay, this guy's from a poor family. He had a difficult childhood, I guess. And as for myself, there was a time when I was in a foster home. I had an abusive childhood. I had a difficult childhood. There were many times where I was hungry as a child. So when this guy started describing his childhood, I think his mom worked. I don't remember if she did or she didn't, but I think she did. I don't recall what it was that she did, but his dad was the head of some sort of school. And they lived in a decent single family home, and they lived in Hawaii. Last I checked, I don't know of any like hoods in Hawaii. Maybe there are. Maybe there are rough neighborhoods in Hawaii. I don't know, but I've never heard of any. So to me, I disliked him because it seemed to me like he misrepresented his past. And something I've learned about humans, remember I'm an INTJ, so we tend to sometimes not think of ourselves as other humans, is that the ones who were born into success, the ones who, I wouldn't say they failed upwards, but I guess try and imagine somebody, you ever seen a movie where somebody kind of makes a mistake, they're clumsy, and they hit something that hits something else, they hit something else that kills the monster chasing them, or they're just lucky. A lot of people who are successful don't want to recognize the fact that they attain that success through some sort of luck. Not to take away from their talent or their skills or any sacrifices they made, but the bottom line is, success, a good portion of it is just luck. There are some businesses that had a great idea and they implemented this idea, but unfortunately the timing of it just wasn't right. The world wasn't ready for this idea. And it doesn't have to be revolutionary. It could be that the infrastructure wasn't ready yet for this particular idea. It could be that technology wasn't where it needed to be for this idea to prosper, and then fast forward some time later, another company comes up with the idea and they end up becoming very successful. Same thing happens with people. This person might purchase a home, fix it up in the hopes of selling it back and making a profit, and for whatever number of reasons, that just doesn't happen. Look at my Robinhood example. If I hadn't attached my Robinhood to the wrong account, I could have turned $50 into $150. So a lot of it's luck. And there are people like this guy who don't want to admit that. So I think in another podcast, I think this podcast was with Kevin Hart, he made a comment that on the face of it, it might sound like it's a humble comment. Let me think, what was it? Yes, the comment is, if I can do it, anyone can do it. Have you ever heard that before? Somebody will be talking about their life, their accomplishments, and how humble they are, that they're where they are, and then they'll end that statement with, and Bob, if I can do it, anyone can do it. Well, if you really dissect that statement, and again, I'm an INTJ, I analyze things, overanalyze things, to really dissect that statement. When someone says, if I can do it, anyone can do it, to me, it sounds like it's arrogant. And let me explain. When they say, if I can do it, anyone can do it, it sounds like to me, they're saying that the fact that they were able to accomplish this goal, the fact that they went from A to Z, they went from a zero to a hero, means that everyone else should be able to do it as well, or at least most people. So what they're saying, in effect, in my opinion, is my situation compared to yours is worse. So it strikes me as being on one part very arrogant, and on the other side very presumptuous. To presume that your situation was worse. Hey, maybe in some cases, maybe in a lot of cases it was. But it just seems like I don't know, it just seems like a very arrogant statement to make. What's another version of this? This is a statement that I've noticed certain women use. What is it? Oh, I'm not lucky, I'm blessed. And that was a really popular statement 10 years ago, I think. I don't know how popular it is now. Not lucky, blessed. And it was on shirts, it was on baseball caps and whatever. So I find that one even insulting in two ways. It's again denying that they're where they are, not because of luck, not because of circumstances, not because of chance, but because of divine intervention. So I guess if you're not lucky and you're not blessed, then His Holiness must not like you. And it just burns me up. Oh. So I guess my rant is, and this is, oh my God, it's almost a 32-minute video. I apologize. I guess my rant is that many of us out here right now are struggling. And there's going to be successful people that are going to make comments that make it seem like it's your fault that you're struggling. No, this is the creeper that keeps following me. I'm not going by him. This truck over here. Earlier, he just kept driving real slow by me, kicking up all this dust. Don't let anyone tell you that you're where you are. I mean, look, I made mistakes. And you know what? Let me rephrase that. Yeah, no, I did make mistakes. All of my mistakes, and I'm going to get into that in my future videos, were trusting the wrong females. Getting myself involved with females that, in one case, absolutely ruined my credit. In another case, almost cost me my previous career. And in another case, this one really did cost me my career. And I made the stupid mistakes of trusting some of these females, or getting myself financially involved with them in ways that I shouldn't have, and putting trust in them that they just didn't deserve. And it's stupid. I say stupid because, you know, hell, you might not see any red flags, and you put your faith into somebody that otherwise seemed like the perfect person on paper, but they end up screwing you over. At least half of these girls, there were some red flags that I didn't see. I suffered from some degree of codependency, and I just didn't notice that these girls were flawed, and ended up burning myself. But you're gonna hear people say, well, you know, you should have X number of weeks or months of savings on the side in the event something bad happens. And you know, there's a certain hypocrisy there, because if I, as an individual, when this happened, I had enough savings to last me a month, thanks to one of my clients that purchased some services from me that allowed me to survive a month that it took for the stimulus check to come in. And unfortunately, like I said earlier, if this unemployment doesn't come in soon, I'm still going to be screwed, because I'm able to make rent now, but I still have a bunch of other bills to pay that's going to be due very soon. So if I'm supposed to have a month of savings to survive on, why can't a corporation do that? I mean, I understand the need to bail some of these corporations out so that they don't go bankrupt, the investors don't lose their money, people can keep their jobs. But I don't know, it seems to me like if you expect just some regular guy who doesn't get government bailouts, doesn't get subsidies, what's the word I'm looking for here? I'm not a financial expert, but basically a bunch of tax breaks. And I like to think that corporations earn in terms of profit over expenses, they have a much greater profit margin than I do. I mean, most of us are check by check. I would think most of us are just trying to survive. And out of us who are trying to survive, if we're able to have a month of savings on the side, that's still pretty damn good. That's more than the average person. But most of us are where we are now, not because of a mistake that we made, but because of this bug. And it just so happens we didn't choose a career that's considered essential, where we can continue to get an income. Again, that's not our fault. So it seems to me that when somebody who's in a position of success talks down to you and tells you you should think positive and tells you that it's your fault in your situation that you're in, they're full of crap. They're full of crap. And it's human nature. It's human nature. If you are born in a higher position, if you're born in a higher position than this guy, and you've never seen what it's like to be in this lower position, and you lack a certain measure of empathy, it's almost impossible for you to understand what it's like for that other person. It would be like a snake trying to imagine what it's like to fly. For many of us, you probably wouldn't know what it would be like to be a multi-millionaire, which actually isn't a lot of money nowadays. If somebody gave me $5 million, I'll probably put half of that aside on investment, pay off my student loans, of course, and other bills, work on building up my credit. And then I've actually always wanted to be an inventor. This mask, I had an idea of how to make a mask like this, but much better, that uses an app and will give a bit more protection against bacteria, and not so much for virus, but larger microbes. But I just simply didn't have the funds to bring this idea into fruition. If you count the amount of money it costs to patent something, and then to have a prototype built, and then to distribute it, or find someone who distribute it for you and not take too huge a cut, you still need a lot of money. But even still, $5 million put aside, invested properly with some good dividends, forgive me, math is not my forte, that would yield you, let's be conservative, maybe $1 million, not $1 million, no, let's say $250,000, almost $500,000, I would say, in investment income. And I don't remember where they start taxing you at. I think it was like 75 or something. They start taxing that investment income, but still. But just because I was born into wealth, and I wasn't, I'm just saying hypothetically, if I was born into wealth, that doesn't give me the right to judge someone for their failures or their lack of success because they weren't born into success. And yes, there are people, I've heard them, who they've spoken on podcasts, I've seen them on TV interviews or whatever, who came from nothings. They came from rags to riches. But like I said earlier, that wasn't all them and their genius and their talent. Some of that was being in the right place at the right time. You cannot take out luck. You can't take luck out as a factor for your success. It just doesn't work that way. And just like a successful person has gotten there via luck, an unsuccessful person sometimes is where they are because of a lack of luck or bad luck. So these are things to consider. I've already made this video way too long. See you soon.